Alright, because I have to, yeah, of course they have to show me Ava's reaction to it. God damn. That's what we're waiting for. And then Nando's just like, yeah, okay. Fucking poor Nando. Imagine how uncomfortable that man has to be right now. You have Ava and George fucking bawling over Hideyoshi's body. You have fucking Badler losing his shit over Rudolph and Kitty, and Nando's just hanging back like, wow. Should I give you guys some time, or like, maybe this will help you. They died instantly. Does that help, guys? Hell yeah. Real bros looking out for each other. You'll have to see it. I had honestly forgotten about that. Yeah, that is also true. Also, what? No. Okay, I'll let the emotional moment finish. I was gonna check like the death descriptions on the pause menu, but you know what? I should probably let this emotional moment play out. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, keep bringing it up. I'm sure he loves that. George is trying to make a calm smile. God damn it, this is gonna get me choked up. But already, Couldn't stop a single hot tear from leaving a streak down his face.
悲しくないわけがないじゃないか。僕はシャノンと一緒にきっと100年の人生では叶えきれないくらいの夢を語り合ったさ。その夢の一番最初の籍を入れることさえ叶えられなくて悲しくないわけがないじゃないか。それに比べたら俺なんかだから俺にはこれ以上泣く資格なんかねえんだ。兄貴だってこらえてるのに俺にこれ以上の涙を流す資格なんて。同じだよ。親しい人を失えば悲しいのはだから。バトラ君が僕より涙を流してはいけないなんてルールはない。そして僕だってもうこれ以上涙をこらえなければならないなんてルールもないんだもん。兄貴兄貴、未来を語り合ったシャノンが死んだ。父さんも死んだ。悲しいな。悲しい。
His battler and George hugged each other very tightly. They cried a waterfall of tears over each other's shoulders, for the people had been so precious to them. That's some real homie shit.
どうして俺がジョージの兄貴が一番辛いって言ったかわかるか。
聞いていたか
No,
ら。
no, 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 no. Listening and understanding are two different things.
その後の人生を共にする時間の長さに悲しみ
Ooh,
は
what's this
比例
song?
すると。
Oh.
もちろんそれだけじゃ測れねえけどな。俺たち人間はお前ら魔女とは違う。生きてから死ぬまでという有限の時間をその力の限り生きている。それをないがしろにする奴は許せない。ましてや嘲笑いもてあそぶような奴は絶対に許せない。お前のような死の概念もめちゃくちゃな奴には理解もできねえだろうがよ。これから生きる時間の長さだけじゃない。一生懸命に生きている奴の人生を嘲笑うこと、これが一番。俺ジョージの兄貴はがむしゃらに頑張って人生を生きてた。シャノンちゃんと結婚するために悲壮な覚悟をしてこの日に臨んでいたはずなんだ。俺みたいに久しぶりにいとこと会えるなんて浮かれてたやつとはわけが違
しかしだな。
ベアト、今は黙って聞きなさい。
Just shut the fuck up.
う。お前の言い分にもお前には自分の復活のためにおかしな非分だから。お前の立場の事情を汲み取る限りそれがお前にとっては必要な行為だからだ。ならそれ以上の不要な行為は全てお前、つまり第一の晩に6人を殺すことまでがお前にとっての顔を砕くとか腹を裂いてお菓子を詰め込むなんて真似は全て全く不必要なお前の残酷趣味だってことになる。俺はお前のこの点について断じて許すことができないんだ。お前はローザおばさんがひどい殺され方を繰り返さ結局は最後には生き返らみたいなことを言ったそうだな。バルギリアに聞いてるぜ。
それは、
No, child, keep your mouth shut.
最後には生き返るなら何度殺してもいいという考えは。
I mean, clearly that doesn't even hold true because we saw like what happened to Rosa. Like after so many rounds of what she went through, like even after at one point after she was revived, she like could barely even function. Like it wasn't like she didn't have a chance before, you know, something happened. Like she was revived and she couldn't even like mentally function properly because of how badly all the repeated torture had actually affected her. Like, so clearly, you know, oh, you can bring them back as many times as you want, it's okay in the end. Like, clearly it isn't, because we've seen that it clearly takes a toll on them, regardless.
命をもてあそぶだけの全く不必要な行為ではないのか。殺すなら人思いに殺せ。もてあそぶな。殺さないならいたぶるな。お前は人の命を自在に操れるのをいいことに、命の尊厳を忘れてしまった。だから俺は認められないんだ。命の重みを、そして失った時の悲しみを知らない奴を俺は対戦相手だと断じて認められない。
無限の魔法が邪法と言われるゆえんです。無限の魔女に有限の概念はない。壊す、殺すという有限と終焉の概念がないのです。それゆえに無限の魔女は時に生と死の狭間をゴム跳びで遊ぶかのように、その行き来を遊び出すようになります。それはとてもとても恐ろしいことです。だから私は無限の魔女として自ら望み、あなたの域まで達しなかったのです。
It was something Virgilia had been trying to tell Beato for a long time. But Beato had been too young to obediently listen to those words. She'd been too wild. She'd been possessed by that detestable pleasure.
壺を割ってはならぬと言わでもだからこそいつそして無限の魔法を得ていくら壊しても好きなだけわらわは壺を壊すことこれほど
それを禁忌の蜜と呼びます。人はその中身に惹かれるのではない、それを封ずる錠前に惹かれるのです。実に嘆かわしいことです。
バルギリアに聞きたい。無限の魔法なんてものがどうしてそれは何のためにこの世にあるんだ。
無限の魔法に限らず魔法は全て人の世に幸福をもたらすために存在するのです。今さらバトラ君には信じがたいでしょうが、私たち魔女は人と人ならざる者たちとの架け橋になるべく修行を重ねているのです。
死者を繰り返し蘇らせ何度もいじめ殺すことでどう人のよ
大切な形見の壺が割れてしまった時、それを直すことで誰もが笑顔を取り戻すならば、私は何度でも魔法にて直すで。しかしそれは壊すために直すのではありません。人に幸福を与えるために蘇らせるのです。
だとしたらベアト、お前は無限の魔女失格だな。
Yeah, you didn't do your fucking job, bro.
今俺は漠然と思ったことがある。どうして俺がお前とこんなおかしなゲームを延々と続けてるのかな。これは俺を屈服させるためのゲームじゃない。お前が本当の意味で無限の魔女に認められるための試験ではないのかってな。
知らん。わらわがそなたにゲームを申し込んでいるのは誰の思惑でもないわ。
俺は今バルギリアからの魔女の定義を聞い、それによるならばベアト、お前は魔女ですらない。その修行の途中で自らの力を誤解した見習いってことになる。これは魔女と人間の戦いのはずならば、魔女でないお前に俺の相手としての資格はない。
Shit. Now it's no longer you're too much of a brutal asshole to fuck. I don't want to be an opponent with such a brutal asshole. Now it's just you're not even qualified to be my opponent. That, oh, that's gotta cut deep.
わかるな。
わらわ
Oh.
はまだ 見習い風情だと申すか。ならばわらわはいつそなたの対戦相手だと再びいつこのゲームを再開できるというのか。
さあな、それは少なくとも今じゃない。
Who knows, but for now, you can fuck off.
お前が俺の言った話をちゃんと理解できて、俺はお前を再び
I'll
ゲームの
probably.
対戦相手だと認めるだろうよ。
そのような抽象的な言い方ではわからぬ。どうすればお前の許しを超えるのか。
Yeah, that's not how
はっ
it
きり
works.
と聞かせよ。
That's not how it works. So I tell you what you need to do, then when you do it, it's not sincere. You gotta figure it out your own.
いいや、これであとはお前が考えろ。
Yep.
俺が言いたいのは以上だ。理解ができないならワルギリアやロノウェに相談してみろ。お前みたいなガキンチョはまず大人の言葉に耳を傾けるところから
Damn,
始
and
め
now
や
he's
がれ。
just talking down to her like she's a kid. Oh. Fuck. It's those small actions like that that's gonna cut her way deeper than any fucking insult ever could.
ゲームは一度中断する。ロノウェが代行を降りた以上、あとはベアトが対局者としてふさわしい資格を持つのを待つしかな
God
い。
damn.
了解しました。ベアトがその資格を得たと認められるまでゲームを対局者不在のまま進行。ベアトもそれでよろしいですね。
異論はない。わらわは時間とゆっくり考えられる場所が欲しい。これにて席を外してもよいか。
ああ、いいぜ。
それではまたね。
待てよ、そうしょぼくれた顔すんな。
それはすまぬ。わらわは胸の内が全て顔に出る勝負。偽れぬ。
ならまだ公正の余地はあるってことだぜ。一つだけ約束する。俺はお前とのゲームに勝つかもしれないし負けるかもしれない。お前が戻ってこなけりゃ不戦勝ってこともあるだろうよ。
At that point, Peddler stopped talking for a second. Then he spoke forcefully.
しかし絶対に俺からは降りない。お前を不戦勝にだけは絶対にしない。お前が再び俺の好敵手としてそこに座るのを俺はずっとここで待っているぞ。
バトラ様。
ありがとう、バトラ。わらわはきっとそなたに認められて戻ってくるぞ。
That was one of the weirdest faces I've ever seen. Like, she's sweating and then so it kind of like gives her like a nervous kind of feel to it, but then she's doing like a little smirk and a wink, and it's just like that combo of like nervous plus smug plus like playful little wink. It's like, what am I supposed to feel from that face? After showing a hopeful smile for a very short while, Beato vanished. After seeing her expression as she left, Battler was absolutely convinced that her face could tell no lies. Interesting. Interesting. The 7 survivors returned to the guest house once again. By now, it was clear that those who went outside would not return alive. Rudolph's group had gone out with 2 guns and a master key. Those had been lost. It was already clear that those had been stolen by the culprit. Because the shutters were closed on the windows, they couldn't be opened even if the culprit had a master key. The front and back doors that led to the outside were all sealed by chains, and they were further blocked with sofas and tables. Even if the culprit decided to break in through violent means, it wouldn't be easy for them.
台風が今となってはむしろ幸いかもしれん。もしも晴れていたならゲストハウスに放火するという手もあり得たかもしれん。
そもそも台風でなかったなら午前中に船が来てた。
Fair point.
それを不幸中の幸いと言えるかは微妙ね。
エヴァさん、体の具合はいかがで無理をされないようにしてください。
ありがとう。熱はまだ感じるけど、そんなことを言ってる 合じゃない。このためにも今は寝込んでる場合じゃない。
After crying so much in front of Hideyoshi's corpse, Eva had felt a strong self-awareness of her position as a mother, and her expression conveyed a strong will. In actual fact, her fever still hadn't gone down. She was aware of that. If she didn't keep a strong hold on herself, she felt as though the fever would make her mind hazy again. By this point, the first floor formed a final line of defense set up by Kraus, Nazi, and Eva. The children and the guest, Nanjo, had been strongly warned not to go downstairs without taking great care. If the culprit used a ladder or something, it probably wouldn't be impossible for them to attack from the second floor. It wouldn't be easy for them to break those sturdy shutters from such an insecure position. The second floor was relatively safe compared to the first. Badler and George had also wanted to remain on the first floor so that they could fight if the worst happened, but Eva had put a stop to that. In her mind, George was now the only member of her family. It seemed that she didn't even want to expose him to the danger of coming downstairs to the first floor. Kraus and Nazi could understand that feeling. Also, a great deal of time had passed since the siege began. In the second floor cousin's room, Badler, George, and Jessica sat dazed, and didn't even listen to the TV that had been left on. For a while, Nanjo had been with them and had tried to lend them words of encouragement, but when he realized that he might actually be having the opposite effect, he hid himself in his own room on the same second floor. George kept looking dazedly at the photographs inserted in his notebook. It was from the time he'd taken a vacation to Okinawa with Shannon. Shannon's happy smile was contained in those photos. George could remember the temperature and the humidity, the warmth and strength of the wind. And even when he had been talking about with her at the time those photos had been taken, as clearly as though it had been yesterday. So to George, they weren't simply photos, but a door to bring back warm memories. In this room, even though the sound of the typhoon and the TV should have entered George's hearing, it was the scenery of Okinawa that he had seen with her, and her laughing voice that reached his eyes and ears. George had strived to be reborn after meeting Shannon. He had sworn to separate himself from the timid person he had once been, easily caught up in the atmosphere, unable to refuse a request, and easily used by those around him. He had resolved himself to become a strong man who could make her life more joyous. Therefore, if he hadn't met Shannon, the man called Ushiramiya George would probably have lived a very different life. And the George of that different life surely wouldn't have been as excellent as the man he is now. The person I am now exists for Shannon's sake. Now that Shannon is gone, why do I exist? It's completely meaningless, isn't it? He felt a deep sadness, as though he himself had become empty. That feeling must have been tormenting him this whole time. However, until Badler mentioned it, he hadn't been aware of the feeling himself. He had finally managed to remember that it should have been alright for him to cry much, much more. So he cried. Just like Badler had, he cried himself dry. By now his eyes were bright red and swollen, and he couldn't cry anymore. So George did his best to change his way of thinking. He was not meaningless now, and he should be grateful to Shannon for giving him such a character. The dead don't come back to life, and he would have to get over being separated from his most beloved person. If he were to chase after Shannon and kill himself, she would surely be deeply dejected. It worked the other way around too. If he had died and Shannon had chased after him, throwing away her own life, he wouldn't have been able to forgive himself. So he chose to surpass his sadness and anger, and decided to thank her instead. After meeting Shannon, she made his days rich and full, and taught him the meaning of working hard for other people's sakes. As a result, she had shaped him into the kind of person he had wanted to be. He wanted to thank her for that. He tried to quell his sadness in this way, but each time he did, he remembered Shannon's smile. He understood it logically. He knew that grieving any more than this would only make her grieve in heaven. That didn't bring a stop to his sadness.